Yes, to land this. Mr. Walter Gretzky. How are you, sir?
Oh, I'm fine. I'm thrilled standing beside you.
Wow. Take two. Just go ahead and pinch me. Go on now.
They're crafted twin 48-foot wooden schooners, the traditional kind.
Hey everybody, I'm Stephanie Beaumont. Welcome to CNB Scene. Sure hope you were watching our last two shows. Then you'd know we were in St. John celebrating East Coast Music Week and having a time of it. Well, we figured while we were in the neighborhood, we'd connect with a few of our favorite folks, get an update on their goings-on, and celebrate their home province. For an episode we're affectionately hashtagging NL Fellas. We'll drop in on our Top Chef Canada, Todd Perrin, to see what his famous Mallard Cottage has on the menu. Plus, we'll connect with St. John's son, Seamus O'Regan, to learn of an amazing effort to commemorate a history-changing centennial. We'll check in with award-winning artist and composer Duane Andrews to discover his process for creating music for movies, and meet up with local filmmaker Joshua Jamison, too. We'll throw in a little scoop on a local production, shine the spotlight on a gotta-get-to gathering, and toast to the lot of it with a delicious signature drink from the good folks at George Street's very own Martini Bar. Oh, how I love a visit to the City of Champions. Well, one fella who spent the last 6 years co-starring with the City of St. John's is NL fella Allan Hawco. Since Doyle signed off last December, Hawco hit the ground running with every kind of project, keeping busier than ever, but never too busy that he can't make time for his fantastic fans and the fine folks in his hometown hood of the Goulds. Well, that's where we connected, just 10 minutes or so outside the city at the Gould Sports Arena ice skating rink, where Allan had been invited to drop the puck for a provincial tournament. After all the meeting and greeting, we caught up to the man to talk about exactly that.
I haven't stopped. I've been writing Cot, the adaptation of the book, and
I'm glad you brought up Cot, Allan, because I travel with it wherever I go. And I'm thinking to myself as I'm reading it, I picture you.
well, that's good. If you were reading it and going, I don't know, Hawco's off his head, he's not going to be any good in this role, that would be a drag.
This is a different role for you.
It certainly is. It's like a challenge. It's a challenge for me as a writer too, because doing an adaptation of one of our most famous novelists is a challenge. It's certainly intimidating, and I'm excited by the fact that it's a completely different tone and direction than what I'm used to with Doyle, and it's kind of exciting. I'm having a lot of fun writing, and I'm writing with John Krzank, who's a fantastic writer. You know him from a million things, and it's really interesting to have a Bible, a true book, a substantial piece of work, to be able to reference when you're breaking these kinds of stories, and versus it all coming from your head or Perry's head or whatever, from our writers. And it's just interesting to go back to that text and sort of whenever you have a question or a challenge, it's there. She's done the work for you.
And it's so lush. Her writing is unbelievably detailed. Hey?
Yeah. And she's the gold I find is in an eighth of a page of description about a flashback is where a bunch of gold will come from. And the threads that she has going throughout the book it's really, really rich, and she's such a brilliant writer, and the characters are so clearly defined.
Yes.
And there's so much there to play with, and she's really open, and she's given us carte blanche, so.
Cool. The other side of this is where St. John's was such a character in Doyle. This is the nation.
Yeah.
And where are you? How is it the scope of the production? Like, how are you doing that now?
That's going to be a challenge because, there's always budgetary constraints, and something this epic, like the Cod, is an extremely epic tale. That's a large portion of it in the past happens in Newfoundland in 1970, so it's period.
Right.
That's going to be a challenge. And then you also have him traveling in present time across the country, but it's also period. So he spends a lot of time in Nova Scotia, Montreal, big block portion of Montreal, big block in Ottawa. And then, of course, there's like the South, there's Colombia, and there's Mexico. So that's BC. There's going to be, I think that's part of that's what sort of drew me to it, is that it is it's bigger than just this place. It's set in Newfoundland.
Yes.
In a lot of ways, these characters are from Newfoundland, but it is national. It does have a whole national scope and then international. So that's kind of what drew me to it. Right. It's in my wheelhouse, but it is completely different.
Right.
So as a writer, that was kind of exciting.
You're excited, I can tell.
Yeah, I am.
I'm really
excited.
That's cool. All right. Allan tells me he's hoping for production to begin sometime early 2016, but there's many a meeting to be had before finalizing exactly when they'll go to camera on Cot. We'll have more with Mr. Hawco coming up later in the show, but with a bit of a hunger on, we're making our way to the amazing Mallard Cottage. A fixture of Kitty-Vitty Village since the late 18th century, the National Historic Site of Canada had recognized it as being one of the oldest wooden buildings in North America. And Chef Todd Perrin and his wife Kim Doyle recognized its potential. Together with sommelier Stephen Lee, they bought it, worked with heritage restoration specialist Sweet Lumber Enterprises, and with the help of the Heritage Foundation of Newfoundland and Labrador, lovingly restored this one-of-a-kind venue to an award-winning place.
Now, I hearken back to the days when you were just thinking about it and you were knocking on the walls and trying to clean it up and all that stuff. Does it seem like a blink or?
Yes, it does. Sometimes it seems like 2 weeks, and sometimes it seems like 20 years.
Yeah.
You know. But no, it's unbelievable. The last few years have just flown, so it's unreal.
Is this everything you wanted, Chef?
It turned out exactly like we wanted.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah. It's really we're super happy with it. It couldn't have been better from our perspective, so we're really pleased.
It's such a warm and welcoming environment, which I love, and that's got to be something that you really wanted to instill.
Well, it's what we went for. That was that was the first thing we went for. We wanted it. One of the things, and I may have said it to you the last time we talked, we were trying to build a restaurant that made you feel like you were coming to my house for dinner.
Right.
And we kind of get there most days, so we're pretty pleased with that. And it's not meant to be a temple of gastronomy, and we're not trying to, invent amazing new dishes. We're just trying to do good, solid food in a really fun environment and let people have a good time and relax and enjoy themselves. So for the most part, we're successful at that.
With Chef Perrin's goal of serving the best local ingredients, the menu at the Mallard Cottage is always amazing. Open for supper service Wednesday through Saturday and the beyond popular brunch service Friday through Sunday. You're in for a tasty time, to be sure of it.
Okay, now just talk to me about it, because we're here for the public house. You got live music with Duane, and you bring other musicians in as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's a session, so Duane and Aaron, or Duane and Booby Brown, or it's kind of a rotating cast. Duane is kind of the main constant, but
right. That's a good constant.
There's a guitar on the wall, and anybody's welcome to get up and play. And
how about you? Do you ever get out behind
every now and then we do, So it depends on the day and what's going on. But yeah, no, it's just meant to be a fun afternoon. Sunday's our favorite day of the week around here. It's kind of our Friday, right. Monday we're closed, so it's a fun day for the staff and hopefully the people that come here, and it's been getting a great response. People really enjoy it, so it's a real blast. We just have a great time doing it.
Awesome. Still ahead on CNBC, we'll toast to the town at Martini Bar, plus television and movie news and some TV free stuff too. Well, we've posted many a feature and enjoyed some great one-on-ones with former broadcast journalist Seamus O'Regan over the years. We got a little insight during a charity event at Mile 1 and even rubbed shoulders with him at a party in Toronto. So now that he's moved back home, we wouldn't miss the chance to chat with such a proud St. John son.
I've said it before, I'll say it again, I'm never happier than when I'm sitting beside this man. And here's the other thing, I would never have even known about Blue on Water were it not for you.
Oh, Blue on Water is an institution. You would have figured it out sooner or later.
Seamus, because we met up at the big benefit. Remember, We Stand on Guard, and you said you're going to love it there.
Yeah, and you did.
I did. I've stayed here. I come here. It's lovely.
Jason and Leslie Brake, who own this place, and Sully, the manager, they're very, very dear friends, and so it's just an easy place to come. It's very comfortable.
Yeah, and fun to stay because the rooms are well appointed and lovely.
Yeah, clean washroom.
And you never know when the Doyle team's going to show up because the hockey team, they won another game today.
I know, or the best restaurateur in Canada there, Jeremy Charles. You never know.
You never know.
It's the nature of the city.
Give me the top 3 things you've got to do, and I'm putting you on the spot now. When you come to St. John's, go, Seamus ORegan.
Top 3 things you've got to do. You've got to hike Signal Hill. I mean, if you can't hike it, just go up there, take a look.
Have you done the ghost tour?
No, I haven't.
Look, I want to tell you something. One of the scariest ghost tours, and I've been on a lot, was in the city of St. John's.
You've been on a lot?
I have. Well, because I used to work morning television. You were always in the studio. I was the remote chick.
Right.
So I'd be out there. But I want to tell you, this is the scariest. And Dale Jarvis does such a bang-up job on Signal Hill.
That's shocking I haven't done it. I'll do that now. So that's on my list.
Brace yourself.
So the haunted hike, Signal Hill. And if I was to pick a third, I would say go up to the rooms, because not only is it the art gallery and the archives and the museum, but the view. I mean, it's up on the hill and
right out through the Narrows.
Right out through the Narrows, and like Gerald Squires, who's an amazing Newfoundland artist, on the opening day, he said, "This is the view that only the gulls had." you can see the whole city and going right out through the Narrows and every which way, 360 degrees. It's just I think it's a perfect place to get a real sense of how gorgeous this city is and how blessed it is where it's placed.
Now that's some very well-founded advice, and I wasn't kidding about that ghost tour. Put it on your list of must-dos next time you're in St. John's. You can find info on that and the Ghosts of Signal Hill tour at hauntedhike.com. Coming up after the break, we'll have more with Mr. O'Regan and learn of the wonderful effort underway at the Rooms. We'll be right back. Welcome back to C&B Scene. Search the colorful skyline of St. John's, and amidst the city's historical buildings and homes, your eye will be caught by the Rooms, a remarkable unification of the provincial archives, art gallery, and museum. There you'll find a celebration of history, heritage, artistic expression, and all the great stories the province of Newfoundland and Labrador has to share. Well, back when we had featured Seamus O'Regan in the spotlight for Atlantic Business Magazine, the Room's longtime board member told us of a wonderful effort underway to honor those who fell for our freedom almost 100 years ago. That campaign continues, and he's still just as passionate about the project.
The 100th anniversary of the Battle of Beaumont-Hamel, yeah. So July 1st is always a bit of a strange day for us. It's obviously Canada Day, and we're very proud to be a part of Canada. You'll recall that Canada joined Newfoundland 60 years ago.
I do.
Yes. But it's also the day that we suffered, we lost hundreds of lives during the course of World War I, but particularly on that day in Beaumont-Hamel, and it was devastating for what was then the country.
Right.
And
it really changed the makeup of this province.
Big time,
right?
Big time. It really, it did in a very substantial way. And so at the Rooms, which I was on the board of the Rooms for 10 years, and when we asked people, what do you want us to look at? What do you really want us to concentrate on? By far, more people of all walks of life and of all ages said, we want you to really pay attention to Beaumont-Hamel, and that 100th anniversary is a big deal to people who are on the street here. I mean,
right.
For ordinary Newfoundlanders and Labradorians. So we're going to do
everybody lost a family member. You can't do that math and not imagine that you weren't affected in some way.
That's right. I mean, I lost a great-great-granduncle. But there were people who lost fathers, brothers. Often they could have been the breadwinners. If you look at the pictures of these boys that went over there, and they were boys, the look of innocence on their faces is really, it's devastating. And we're doing our darndest to commemorate what it did and how it did. It made us into it's unfortunately, through that sacrifice, but it did make us into a stronger country.
Right, indeed. Okay, now when you talk about the commemoration and what you imagine the tribute to be, how do you see that unfolding?
Well, at the Rooms we're going to, basically we're building an area that will talk about 1916, talk about Beaumont-Hamel, but not just what happened abroad, but what happened here.
Right.
Because the number of women particularly that got together to support that war effort, that changed, as it did many other parts of North America and Europe, it changed us demonstrably. So we want to tell all those stories. We want to tell the stories of the young men that went abroad. We want to tell the stories of the people who were left behind and who became engaged and created a stronger country.
Right. And so now there is an opportunity for people. You're asking for the stories, but literally to contribute.
Yes, and we're going all around the province, collecting those stories, and we've just been overwhelmed by the art, the antiques or memorials, or things that people just had maybe in their attic or whatever, but stuff that they were very proud of.
Right.
And now they have an opportunity to share it with the rest of the province, and then I think the rest of the country and the world. I mean,
right.
These are really, really interesting stories that people care very deeply about.
You can find out more about the campaign and how you can contribute by visiting therooms.ca. Since our visit, award-winning Newfoundland filmmaker Justin Sims has wrapped his St. John's production of Away from Everywhere. It was great to see the posts and tweets from the set, which from all reports was a lovely one, no matter what poor Sean Doyle looks like in these shots. The film co-stars Call Me Fitz's Jason Priestley and Warehouse 13's Bay d'Espoir NL-born actress Joanne Kelly. The feature film is in post now, where the director, Mr. Sims himself, will take up the editing duties with the goal of having Away From Everywhere ready for release early next year. We'll be sure to keep you posted. In the meantime, you can find the book by NL author Chad Pelly, on which the movie is based, in stores and online now. Earlier in the show, we saw multi-award-winning NL artist Duane Andrews playing at the Mallard Cottage's public house, as he does most every Sunday he's in town. But with over 20 credits for film and TV composition, including Cracky, for which he took home the 2009 AFF Award for Best Original Score, and the recently released Relative Happiness, when he took his break, we took our chance to chat about how he got involved in making music for the big and small screens.
It started just from, with friends and, who were making movies, and it sort of evolved from, the typical sort of story. You start with short films, from friends, and then as your friends start making, feature films and that kind of stuff, then you kind of go along with them. So I guess that's how I got into it. But the more I got into it, the more I realized how much I love it, and it's great because I like writing music as well and just composing in different styles and different situations. And especially when you're working on a film, it's a really unique situation to be making music. Because it's not you're not making music to record and put out on a CD. You're not making music to perform live for an audience.
Right.
You're making music that's part of telling a story.
I would imagine that there must be certainly some stuff you have in your repertoire, and other times you're looking at the picture. Or how does it work for you?
For me, it's all about the director. So the director has a vision. They understand just a mood that they want to create. And often when we do talk, it is in like emotional terms. So say, well, we're looking for something that's happy and.
But are you seeing the visuals at that time, Duane? Or?
Usually, yeah.
Okay.
Like we'll get a cut of the film, and that can be at varying stages. So it could be earlier on, and it's like a rough cut of the film. So you just get a sense of what they're looking for in general, and then once you get into like a locked picture, they call it. So as they get further along the filmmaking process,
Deanne says that's specific. The part that makes her the most nervous, when they picture lock.
Yeah. No, that's because that's your committing. Then it's like this is what it's going to be.
Right.
So that's definitely a big moment. But it's a collaboration, more so than anything. And
Do you have a favorite then? Is it the rom-com? Is it the drama? Or do you just like to shake it up?
I think for me it's just the process of the whole thing that I like, So the style isn't. I've done like kind of suspense, horror, thriller type things, and romantic comedies, and then like drama, action type things. So stylistically, I like it all. It's just more that process of finding the music that fits, and that whole pursuit,
Well, you do it great, Duane. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
Well, one NL fellow who first came on our radar back in 2011 was writer and filmmaker Joshua Jamison, after producing, writing, and directing the documentary to honor his grandfather, just himself, the story of Don Jamison. We've been looking forward to finally meeting the man, and so we have, at Rocket Bakery for a coffee and a chat about the inspiration for his latest project.
It's actually based on a poem by Carmelita McGraw, which appeared in her 2013 BMO Winterset finalist book called Escape Velocity.
Okay.
And that's how I came upon it.
Which is like a needle in a haystack,
yeah.
Right? And it just triggered something for you.
Yeah, so my day job is at the Newfoundland Labrador Arts Council. I'm the communications guy there. And when the BMO Winterset comes around, I usually look at the finalist books and spend some time reading them, because I like to know what it is that I'm writing about.
Right.
And when I was putting the event together for the 2013 award, I was reading that book of poetry. And when I hit that poem, it just rang so many bells with me. It was such a beautiful and visually and cinematically written piece.
Right.
So I asked Carmen if she'd read it at the event. And when I heard her read it, it just got even stronger. So we chatted afterwards at the reception, and I just sort of planted the seed of the idea of doing an adapted short film based around that particular poem.
Wow.
The poem, I should tell you, I guess it's about a guy being observed by a woman. They're both complete strangers. They're both in a waiting room, and she sees this guy, and he's waiting for an appointment, and he flips through magazines, and a mail order card falls out for information on a luxury vehicle.
Okay.
And he spends his time waiting to see the doctor filling this card out, and when his name is called, he slides the card back in the magazine and just leaves it there with all of his information filled in. So that just got me thinking about how much we watch other people and observe them and form opinions based on those observations, whether those observations
really
are
ever
right.
knowing.
Yeah, I mean, they
Right.
could be totally off the wall.
Right.
So I found out in that conversation with Carm after the fact that she was inspired to write the poem while she was waiting for a friend of hers who she was supporting who was going through cancer treatment.
Okay.
So that just added a whole other level, because now I kind of thought about why this guy was in the waiting room to begin with. And I decided to write a script that established that guy's backstory and created who he was and what the shape of his life looked like, and eventually work towards getting to that ultimate scene in the waiting room.
Joshua tells me he's enlisted the help of Fredericton NB-born writer-director Gia Milani as a sounding board for his script, and he's co-producing the film with the multi-talented and marvelous force, St. John staple Ruth Lawrence. I can't wait to see Waiting Outside. If you'd like more information on this project, by all means visit their site at waitingoutside.ca. Still ahead on CNBC, we'll share a truly tasty signature drink mixed up especially for us by the folks at the marvelous Martini Bar. We'll have an update on all things Mark OBrien and more with Hawco too. But for now, how about say we dole out some TV free stuff? Courtesy of our good friends at Flanker Press, I've got the brand new book from best-selling NL author Jim Wellman, The Deadly Sea, Life and Death on the Atlantic. And to enjoy while you're reading, we've got some delicious Newfoundland Screech coffee from the good folks at Jumping Bean Coffee Company. And all you need to do to win it is tell us where in Newfoundland did we meet up with Allan Hawco. He's always telling us it rules. So if you're a fan of the man, you'll know for sure. And once you do, hit the website at cnbc.com, click on the TV Free Stuff button, and submit your answer. Good luck to ya, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to CNBC. If you've been wowed by the awesome aerial footage used in this show, then join us in saluting NL fellow Paul Kinsman. The longtime broadcaster and marvelous musician has always had a passion for photography, and now pairing it with his stellar video work has launched Paul Kinsman Arts and Media. I mean, literally launched. How amazing is this? We're so thrilled Paul has shared his work with us for this episode. For more on the man and all his many talents, visit paulkinsman.com. Just amazing. We'll leave you with one more breathtaking look at Paul's work, this one of the horizon, as it'll bridge nicely to our next NL fella to be featured, Mark OBrien, who, as it happens, just received the truly prestigious Memorial University Alumni Horizon Award, recognizing exceptional achievement by a Memorial graduate under the age of 35. Sure, Mark only just turned 31 May 7th, and already he's a multi-award-winning filmmaker and truly gifted actor with more on-screen roles than he's had years on the planet, one of which is the soon-to-be-released feature film End of Days, Inc.
Oh my God, it's $1 million! So if we finish processing the inventory before dawn, we each get $1 million? Really?
He said he'd give us $1 million. He never said he'd let us live.
And you can find him on the small screen now as well, as part of the Season 2 cast for AMC's computer thriller Halt and Catch Fire, premiering May 31st. The series stars Lee Pace, Scoot McNairy, and Mackenzie Davis, and when we asked Mark to share a little of the experience, here's the letter he wrote in reply. Halt and Catch Fire was one of the best experiences I've had in my career. It's a wonderfully written show that I truly hope people will watch. We have an incredibly talented cast that are so conscientious. By the end of the season, we had all really bonded as a group. Sometimes that happens when you're shooting on location. We were in Atlanta because it brings everyone together to create a new but temporary home. So grateful to Mr. OBrien for sharing, and we'll be tuned in for sure. For more on the show, visit amc.com/show/Halt and Catch Fire. That, my friends, is the brand new video from Alan Doyle, featuring his beautiful gypsies, Corey Tetford and Kendall Carson. Also announced, Alan will be touring Canada with the Bare Naked Ladies this fall, but has a summer filled with festival gigs first, including the Stan Rogers Folk Festival July 3rd in Canso, Nova Scotia, the Cavendish Beach Music Festival on PEI July 11th, and on August 28th, he'll join 22-minute star Sean Majumder in his hometown of Burlington, Newfoundland for The Gathering. going. Always the coolest of times, it's a wonderful 4-day festival filled with fantastic food prepared by world-class chefs and marvelous music being made by the island's best. You know Sean will be doing his hilarious stand-up show too, with 1 or 2 funny friends joining him as well. It's gonna be a time. This year's festival runs August 27th through the 30th. For more information on the whole experience, visit thegatheringburlington.com. We told you we'd squeeze in a smidge more Hawco in the show. You'll find our very extended interview on cnbc.com. But here's a bit on his forthcoming feature film, Hyena Road, written, directed, and starring Paul Gross.
It's such a great experience. Paul Gross is, everyone knows, a very good friend of mine and a guy I respect. And it's the first time he ever directed me, I realized. I've worked on a bunch of his productions and he's worked on mine, but he's never been directed.
Good director?
He's an excellent director. I really trusted Paul. Paul trusted me, and we had this really we have this unspoken language, and we can be extremely frank with each other. Paul can tell me directly, like not many other people can have the guts to say that, say the things that he can say to me, and me not take any of it personally, because we're trying to get to the end result, which is I want to be good, and he wants the movie to be good.
Sure.
So we have a very quick shorthand, two takes per.
Wow.
Like bam, bam. I love the way he operates as a director and as a writer. I really love his material. And John Krasank, I've known, who's working with me on COD, has written with Paul they're writing partners. They've been writing partners for years. Okay. So that's how I was introduced to Krasank all those years ago. Yeah, he's a really cool character, and I'm covered in tattoos, and I got a mustache.
I saw that. I joked around to Jill Thomas Hines. I was like, "Look at this! What do they say about imitation is the finest form of flattery."
Yeah,
but it came off, right?
I could never, I could never imitate Joel. Hey, and Cast No Shadow.
Hello.
Yeah, which we produced.
It's beautifully shot, first of all.
Yeah, and I'm so proud to be a part of it in some small way, And it's like Joel wrote it, and Christian Sparks directed it. He did a brilliant job.
First-time feature too. Let's be clear.
Yeah, there's no flies on him, man. And Joel and Percy, of course, Joel's son, is a breakout role for a young fellow like that. And there's no doubt. I mean, Sherry White's his mother.
Right.
She's a brilliant actress and writer, and Joel, of course, being such a brilliant actor. I'm a huge fan of Joel's. I thought they were brilliant together. I love it. Big fan of being part of that. It's been a cool year.
Cool year, very cool guy. And they've all been amazing. So in celebration of our stellar NL fellas, we're off to the Martini Bar for a signature cocktail concocted especially for them.
Hi, I'm Shanola from the Martini Bar, and I'm going to be making for you today a partridge berry iced tea, which is a spin on the classic Long Island iced tea with some Newfoundland ingredients. So first we're going to take our shaker and fill it with ice. And then we're going to add an ounce of partridge berry liqueur. We're going to do a ½ ounce of iceberg gin, which is one of my favorite Newfoundland gins. And a ½ ounce of iceberg silver rum. We're going to take some lemon bar mix. We're going to pour it till it's almost halfway full. Take our shaker top and give it a good shake. And then we're going to take our tall glass, fill it with ice, and we're going to strain it out into the tall glass. Then we're going to take some Pepsi and top it up. Take a straw and a lemon and lime garnish. And there you have it, it's partridge berry iced tea. Come on down the Martini Bar and have one.
And it's so delicious. Our great thanks to the lovely Shanola and the Martini Bar's Peter Wally for welcoming us in. Be sure to stop in when you're in St. John's and find them online at themartinibar.ca. You can watch this show and all the other great Community One programming anytime you want. Simply click the on-demand button on your Bell Alliant Fiber Up TV remote and follow the steps on your screen. And be sure to hit our site at cnbc.com, where we celebrate the people, places, and things that make the 4 Atlantic provinces special online 24/7. I'm Stephanie Beaumont. Thanks for joining us for this show. We'll see you next time on CNBC.
I was saying, I'm going to the public house at the Mallard Cottage, but that's like an old English term, or
Well,
what's that?
that's where the term pub comes from, right? So, you know, it's pub and public.
Are you kidding me?
No, I'm not kidding you.
And I drink a lot, so you'd think I'd know that, right?
Well, yes,
that's
maybe
so
that's why you
funny.
didn't remember.
Maybe. Seamus O'Regan.